Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick review of my bike, a Honda CB300F, 2015 Honda CB300F. Why am I doing this review? Well, first of all, I really like this bike. I think it's a great bike. If you are considering getting a small, lightweight motorcycle with a small engine size, I would highly recommend this bike. Also, it's very inexpensive. It's one of the least expensive bikes out there. I paid $4,400 out the door. That's $4,400 US out the door, in case there are any international viewers here. All right, so quick overview. Why did I buy this bike? It's got an upright, extremely comfortable riding stance. I'm not really a fan of the hunched over sportback riding stance, and I'm not too crazy about having my feet in front of me like in a cruiser stance. So I was definitely looking for something comfortable, very upright, very neutral riding position, and this bike definitely has that. Is this bike slow? No, to me it definitely does not feel like a slow bike. It can definitely hold its own on the highway for sure. I've gotten this bike up to about 87 miles per hour, never taken it above 90, and I feel that's fairly sufficient for riding on the highway. The on-ramp, the highway on-ramp, I feel is long enough for you to accelerate to the 60 or so miles per hour you need to match highway speeds, and I feel like that's good enough. I think, if you can get to highway speeds on the on-ramp, and then get up to 60, 70, 80 once you're actually on the highway, it's good enough. All right, so a little bit about the transmission. Neutral is not difficult to find, but the transmission does stick a little bit, and sometimes you have to let the clutch out a little to have it engage the gear that you want. I get about 50 or 60 miles per gallon on this bike. The tank is about 3 gallons. The bike, as you may already know, extremely lightweight. It's about 350 pounds, soaking wet. And because of that, the wind pushes this bike around very, very easily. There's no wind protection. However, it's a naked bike, so it's being marketed as a naked bike and sold as a naked bike. So I guess it's kind of expected. You can't really blame the bike for that. So I've taken this bike on rides up to probably about 2 hours. Mainly on the back roads up here in Northern California, and I've been very comfortable on this bike. However, it's probably not a bike that you'd want to spend on the highway for more than 2 hours at a time. It's not really a long distance bike simply because of the lack of wind protection and the extremely lightweight. If you let off the throttle on this bike on the highway, the massive wind resistance will slow you down quite a bit, actually. A heavier bike will have more inertia and not decelerate that quickly on the highway. In terms of the suspension, I'm fairly happy with it. But then again, I'm not really riding long distances on the highway, so I don't really have much of a need for a very cushy, comfortable suspension. I never really noticed how bumpy this bike is until I put a GoPro on the tank and filmed myself doing one of the rides here, one of the back roads here. And the video came out pretty bumpy, so that was essentially the only indication that this bike had a bumpy, stiff suspension. Otherwise, when I'm riding around, to be honest with you, I really don't notice the suspension. I'm very comfortable. The seat is very comfortable as well. So the fact that this bike is lightweight means that it's probably not the best bike on the highway. However, it does lend itself to being a very, very easy bike to handle and maneuver if you're a beginner. A lot of beginners do end up dropping their bikes, and this bike would significantly mitigate that risk. I've never dropped this bike. I'm not really a beginner. I actually started riding motorcycles about 12 years ago. However, I recently got back into it, and I wanted to get a small, easy, lightweight bike. Just because I was getting back into it and I didn't want to get anything too big or too hardcore. The brakes are pretty good. It has disc brakes in the front and the back, which is a plus as opposed to drum brakes like the Honda Rebel. Massive engine braking on this bike. In fact, the engine braking will slow this bike down faster than the actual mechanical brakes, and that's really not an exaggeration. In fact, sometimes if I'm on the twisties on the back roads here, I'll just downshift, let the engine braking slow myself down, and then accelerate out of the corner without even touching my brakes. So I'm actually a fan of engine braking. I think it's just another tool that the rider can use to slow the bike down. The only thing missing with this bike that I wish it had is ABS. Now I know that there is a debate on the internet and amongst motorcycle riders as to whether or not you even need ABS. I am a numbers geek. In any case, they report up to 20% decrease in overall accidents with ABS and 30 or over 30% reduced rate of fatal accidents with ABS. So, given what a massive numbers geek I am, that those are numbers that I can't really argue with. There's the dash. There you have digital tachometer, digital speedometer, odometer, and a clock. It doesn't have a gear indicator, but of course it tells you if you're in neutral or not. Engine cutoff switch. Starter. There, I'll start her up. This is the horn, obviously. And to activate the turn signals, you just push it to the left, and you can see obviously it's working, and you just push it in to deactivate. And then the same thing with the other side. The reason I'm doing this is because there are a lot of new riders, and I guess it helps to get a thorough overview of what's going on with the controls here. Clutch, obviously, nice clutch. This is high beam, low beam selector. I find that the low beam is pretty low. I mean, it's dim. It looks bright right now because we're inside. And all right, what else? Single cylinder, fuel injected engine. It has a trunk, or at least I like to call it a trunk. Or a underseat storage area, so you just put the key in there like that, pops this thing up. All right, what else? I think we pretty much covered everything. Sorry, the bike is a little dirty. Probably should have cleaned it before doing this review. All right, well, overall very satisfied with this bike. If you want to see what this bike is capable of on the highway, there is a YouTube user, a channel by the name of Lane Splitter, 2 words, and he has a video of this bike splitting lanes in San Francisco in the city and on the highway. A lot of people disagree with his riding style, but I think it's a good demonstration of what this bike is capable of.